Good evening, everybody. My bad. Welcome back to the Josh and Artemis Show. Today we are discussing, Tucker Carlson in Canada. He's been traveling around. He's been in Edmonton and Calgary, Alberta. And Jordan Peterson went on the stage. The Alberta Premier Danielle Smith went on the stage. Apparently, Jordan Peterson had a private dinner with Pierre Poilievre, so that was really cool. Then we're going to discuss about how the federal courts have said that it was unlawful for the Freedom Convoy with Justin Trudeau, as he cries big alligator tears. And what else have I missed?
That's it, I think. Yeah.
That's it.
So a few things to get through today, guys. As usual, we'll get through this for you and bring you our opinions on all the stories. And it's been an eventful few days here. Tucker Carlson hasn't held back with his opinions on Justin Trudeau, and he does reflect what we feel and a lot of other Canadians feel. I'm not actually Canadian, of course.
You're almost. You have your permanent residence, and you'll get your Canadian citizenship.
That's if Justin Trudeau doesn't come banging on the door for the things I'm going to say about him tonight. But we'll see.
He'd have to go through me first.
Yeah.
So. Anyway.
Yeah, right. So before we get into this, guys, as usual, if you're brand new to the channel, like, share, subscribe to the show. It does really help us.
For sure. And if you want to go that little bit further, you can become a YouTube or Patreon member. Links in the description and, of course, in the bio of our homepage. You can also donate on buymeacoffee.com. And we do want to say thank you to our current YouTube and Patreon members who do support the show as we go live every single day at 8 p.m. Eastern. And we love bringing you, the madness in the world, basically.
Yeah, and today we're focusing on
Canada.
So let's share our screen and we'll get into some clips. Nothing really to read out today because I have got a cold as well, so can't really do much reading, but I can do talking, to be fair.
We can both do the talking, that's for sure.
So, so we'll start off with some clips. So this is Tucker Carlson. I believe this was in Calgary. Yeah. So this was yesterday, and he was actually in Edmonton today. And obviously, he hasn't held back with his opinions on Justin Trudeau, which have been, of course, gathering a lot of attention. And, we've got some comments from the Liberal government as well, who have also responded to what he said. And of course, it's weakness personified, as we expect from the Liberals. Which to me isn't really a surprise, but it's quite telling how threatened they are over effectively just a journalist at the end of the day, which does tie into the narrative of the Liberal Party pretty much being scared of questions, scared of anyone asking what they deem a controversial question. So we'll get into this now. Let's enlarge this. So this is, the clip. So sorry, the quote there basically tells the story of what what Tucker's going to say. So, what an absurd poser this guy is. He's like a ridiculous figure. So that's just a snippet, really, of what Tucker actually says. So we'll play this for you, then we'll react to it.
Oh, sure.
I asked, is there anyone in the country who supports this guy? He's so I know him I've never met him. I only know him through television. I know his cousin, Gavin Newsom, pretty well, but I don't know him. Is there anyone who takes him seriously? And everyone in the room said, oh, yeah. Young people, particularly young women, take him very seriously. They love him. And I thought there's really only one way to combat that, and that's by pointing out what an absurd poser this guy is. He's like a ridiculous figure. You should dislike and resist Justin Trudeau and his government to the maximum extent of your ability. But before you do that, you should just laugh at him until you can't breathe. Seriously. The guy's he's showing up for a costume party when no one else is. There's no costume party, and there's Justin Trudeau. Speaking as some sort of moral voice. Weird little cross-dresser. So anyway, that's my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice, once you've done that, which is very effective, and I know it's not the Canadian way because it's such a polite society that everyone feels morally bound to take everyone else's point of view very seriously and sort of nod gravely and pretend to consider their perspective. But there are some perspectives that aren't, in fact, perspectives. They're attacks on you. And that's the main thing that I want to say in the short time allotted today, is that you should recognize what is happening to you. This is not a political debate to which you've been invited to participate. This is a destruction of you and your culture and your beliefs and your children and your future as a country.
Spot on.
Yeah.
I mean, what's like your thoughts on it? Because to me, he nailed it there.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I mean, he speaks the truth. We love Tucker Carlson, honestly. So, yeah, we would have been there if we could. And I mean, I think Canadians in general are very tired of the situation here. You know, we have a beautiful country and we have lovely people who live here, but you know, that's being overshadowed by a leader who isn't taking care of his people. And this is the result of that. You know, you're seeing it with the way that we're supporting other countries first instead of taking care of our own people. So, I mean, of course, he's going to look not very great in other people's eyes, you know, especially people from different countries looking towards Canada and seeing what is going on. And so, you know, it's very disappointing and embarrassing, of course. And so, I mean, what can you really say? And like people who do still support Trudeau, like I don't get it. Like I don't see
the appeal.
I don't see the appeal, and like, yeah, I just don't understand what the pros are to be pro Trudeau.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's catering to a certain audience. You know, he's catering to the immigrants who come into the country. I mean, that's a common theme we're seeing at the minute in this country and also America.
Yeah.
With the Biden administration, of course, with the amount of issues they're having with the border there. You know, and what Trudeau's doing is effectively buying votes at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And also he caters to the LGBTQ plus 2A crowd.
Yeah.
I think that's how you say it. LGBTQ
I don't know. The
plus
alphabet.
2A.
The alphabet club.
Yeah.
Because I can't keep up. Honestly. Yeah.
It keeps growing.
It just keeps growing. It keeps getting more complicated. You have to Google the terms of what these things even mean. I mean, LGB all the way. Forget the T.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So he does cater to a certain group, and we've seen his opinion. We've seen the opinions of the Canadian population change on Justin Trudeau. It's been a very steady decline, really. In the last few weeks, especially, it's went off a cliff in terms of the public opinion for Justin Trudeau. And even, you know, there's murmurings within the Liberal Party now that people within it are beginning to question his leadership. And to me, it's about time. And I'm not sure how this is going to play out because obviously, you know, you discussed at the start of the show about the Emergencies Act, which was put onto the truckers during the protest a couple of years ago. That was deemed unlawful. I think it was yesterday or the day before by the federal court.
Yeah.
And still he hasn't resigned. Still we haven't had a statement. And still we haven't had a single apology. The only thing what Chrystia Freeland has said is that they're going to appeal the decision. So they've effectively doubled down on their original decision to do it.
Yeah.
Which to me just makes them look even more stupid than they did before.
Yeah.
And it's a slap in the face because, you know, these people, if you know anything about the protests, guys, right? It was very peaceful.
It was.
You know, and then you compare it to the pro-Hamas protests, which we've been seeing all over Toronto and other places here, and all over Europe and also America, when they're smashing up things, they're disrupting people's lives, they're harassing people. And what gets done? They get coffees brought to them, they get donuts brought to them.
Yeah, the Timmy's name has gone downhill because of that. Yeah.
And you know, they're sponsored by Uber Eats at the end of the day. These people.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy, the contrast. And of course we know why, because like I've just explained, it's literally votes for Justin Trudeau because he needs all the votes that he can get.
Yeah, because he sees that Canadians are, you know, starting to turn on him, but it's more like Canadians are waking up and realizing this is not the leader that we want for our country. You know, like Canadians are proud to be Canadian, but at the minute it's like, you know, it's like, oh, you know, I love Canada, but, and it's like, there's always going to be a but until we have, you know, radical change. Like we need a massive change in what's going on here. So, everything, but it's just from bottoms up, what's happening in schools, indoctrinating children, what we're deeming how we're raising the next generation. Like it's just appalling what we're allowing in schools, in the medical field. And this isn't just to Canada. This is basically all over the West. But like, this is why we need a leader who's going to say, enough is enough with this. And, at the very least, take it out of schools and, leave kids alone. And, somebody who wants to focus on growing the economy again, providing jobs for Canadians, like make housing affordable again, like making the food costs go down, supporting our farmers, who work really hard. And, that's why we're seeing a lot of protests around Europe as well. Like, we need more support for farmers all over the world. Like they have a very important job, for anybody who likes fresh food, which I'm sure most people do. You need farmers to have that. And so, we're like, it's like everything's backwards right now. We're not supporting the right things and we're not promoting the right things, which is just crazy to me.
Absolutely. Well, let's move on because we do have some more clips to go through. So what's next on the agenda?
All right.
Okay, so this is Tucker Carlson going in on Chrystia Freeland. Of course, she's the deputy PM. So he's went in on to Justin Blackface Trudeau, and now he's gone into Chrystia Twitchy Freeland. So let's enlarge the screen and see what he says.
And I know a lot about this because I knew Chrystia Freeland when she, was a journalist at the Financial Times, whose name shall forever live in infamy for employing her. And I remember even then thinking, this woman is not bright at all. But boy, does she have high self-esteem. I don't think I've ever even seen it's off this, I don't know what the self-esteem measurement scale is, the Richter scale. But her self-esteem was literally unassailable. It was bomb-proof. If a nuclear bomb dropped on your town, you could hide beneath Chrystia Freeland's self-esteem and live. There's like nothing you can do to shake it. Nothing. No amount of evidence of her stupidity and wrong decisions and idiotic views could dissuade her from the core belief that she was awesome and you were not. So I guess I shouldn't be totally shocked that she's helping to run and destroy your country. But she's doing it in her signature way. She's not getting on the CBC, her media outlet, which like almost all outlets in this wonderful oppressed country is run by the government. It's all state media. It's Albania 1985. And I'm sure we have people whose families were refugees from Albania. Welcome. And you know what I'm talking about. But at least you could say of the Albanian leader in 1985, Enver Hoxha, that when he went full fascist, he just like didn't mince words. Shut up and obey or we'll shoot you. Chrystia Freeland is wise enough, clever enough, in her serpent-like way, to make it all about your protection and safety. All about your protection and safety. No, we're just trying to help you. That's why you're in shackles. You're being arrested right now for your safety. Oh, it's for the common good. Don't worry, you'll understand. I always want to say, Mrs. Freeland, can I go to the bathroom? No, you can't. And you can just imagine her taking great glee as your fourth grade self wet his pants in class as Mrs. Freeland refuses to let you go to the bathroom. So that's kind of more diabolical than what we've seen in previous generations, and it's much more effective in a committedly polite country like Canada, because you don't know that it's happening. And because a demagogue like that, or your completely bizarre, cross-dressing prime minister, it's true, Prime Minister Blackface, I didn't wear blackface, he did. He 3 times, thank you, 3 times, and I want to thank you for your commitment to the facts. The Prime Minister, their attack on your rights, which is an attack on you and your children, is cloaked in the language of therapy, self-help, and compassion.
Done. So what's your thoughts on that?
You first.
Okay, let's.
I'm always first.
Well, of course he nailed it. He made a great point, which we've brought up on this show and other people have as well, that Chrystia Freeland used to be a journalist.
Yeah.
And, we brought you this story maybe last week, maybe the week before, of David Menzies, who we're a big fan of. Shout out to David if you're watching. I don't think you are, but shout out if if you see this.
Yeah.
He tried to ask her a question on the anniversary of, a terror attack where Canadians were killed. And she had him brutally arrested. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the footage for yourselves. And this is the kind of mentality that these people have in this country now, that it's a dictatorship. It's an authoritarian dictatorship here, where you cannot question things. And if you're a journalist, like what happened to David a few weeks ago now, you are brutally arrested.
Yeah.
Simply for asking a question. And, we have the extreme censorship. We have, the blocking of certain sites on social media. It's this authoritarian rule, what the Liberal Party have slowly, it wasn't an instant thing. It's happened over time. And like Tucker Carlson was saying there, what they've done is effectively taken advantage of Canadians' good nature, effectively, because it's went under their noses. It's been in plain sight, but they haven't really seen it until, since the truckers, really. I think what happened with the truckers was a big eye opener for everyone here. That really did show the power and the motivations of what the government are like here. I mean, these truckers they had a peaceful protest.
Yeah.
There was
bouncy castles for the kids.
Yeah, like dance offs. So the footage has been going around for years, but there was nothing dangerous about it.
No. And waving Canadian flags all over the place.
Yeah, and like we said before on the show, I mean, if you compare that to the pro-Hamas protests, which we've all seen across the world, it's literally night and day with how these people are treated. And for the government here to shut off people's bank accounts and stop funding to their cause is just plain wrong. And also it's criminal. And like we explained, the federal court have now said that it was an unlawful thing to do. So to me, Tucker Carlson is spot on here, and it's very, I don't know if it's telling, I don't know if that's the right word, but I think it's interesting that it's taken someone like Tucker Carlson, who isn't a Canadian.
But apparently comes from Canadian descent.
He does.
Apparently his grandfather was Canadian.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that.
But it's taken Tucker Carlson to come in to this country on his tour, I think it is. And, he's filled out these two arenas, which of course shows you how popular he is and how popular his opinions are on these people, because and this is what we've always said, the vast majority of people do not want Justin Trudeau and his government here. They just don't. He has fucked up this country to the highest degree, and Canadians are tired of it.
Yeah, he's let Canadians down.
Yeah,
basically. And there's only so many times that you can be let down by somebody, especially a leader of your country, before you're just like in agony, like begging for change.
Yeah, and it's to me, it's very strange how he hasn't resigned, because the amount of scandals. I mean, he's violated the ethics. I think he's violated the ethics rule or law or whatever you call it 3 times. No other PM in this country has ever done that before, but he's done it 3 times. His the Emergency Act, which we've just talked about, which has turned out to be an unlawful thing to do. And then the blackface stuff. I mean, if that was Boris Johnson, for example, in the UK, if some old photos of him came out in blackface, which would be hilarious to see, to be honest. But if it did, he would literally resign the next day. because the British people would not allow him to continue.
I know.
So to me, it's just very strange how it's scandal after scandal with Justin Trudeau, and he's still here.
Yeah.
And still no apology, and still no statement on what happened the other day with the Emergency Act.
Yeah.
And it's very weak. It's very weak.
It is. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, Tucker Carlson. I know Tucker Carlson. No, Tucker Carlson is just like spot on and just like speaking truth, really. And I think that's like a breath of fresh air as well for Canadians. And, they just want somebody to tell it like it is, because obviously a lot of us are feeling frustrated and just fed up with what's been going on. And so, it's almost like, what's the right word, but it's basically when you just feel, I don't know, almost like not recognized, but, validated for all your feelings because
validated,
because, somebody from the outside looking in, our neighbors, the Americans, they're looking in and they can see what's going on. And, of course, they'll also have a different point of view, like kind of outside looking in, but they're, so many people, like prominent people in America, are speaking up about what's happening to Canada. And it does feel validating. I think that's a really good word. And it is nice to hear that other people can see what's happening because we're feeling it. And, we just want change. We just want our country to be thriving again. It's been too long, and it is painful because, if you ask Canadians, all the politics aside, like, what do they think of Canada? Like, it's an absolutely beautiful country. And, everybody loves to live here, but it's just, everything else around that is really depressing, basically.
Yeah, it's very hard to live here at the moment for a lot of people, especially young families and stuff.
We got Briar in the chat. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Briar. I don't always agree with Tucker Carlson, but when I do, he's busting the chops of our Northwood neighbours, cowardly leader JT. Yeah. Well said. And yeah, of course, he's a very polarizing person. But since leaving Fox News, I guess he's kind of went out on his own. He's had a bit more freedom to, I guess, do what he wants. And I've seen a bit of a change in him for sure. And
almost a bit more relaxed in some ways as well, because I don't think you have kind of like that like mainstream media looming over your head, no matter what station it is. And I think that's why it's so important for people to support like podcasters or people who have their own shows, because you're getting it just real, like the good, the bad, the ugly. Like, you're just getting people's thoughts and opinions on these things, reporting on these things, having real discussions. They're not scripted, or most, I don't know if anybody else is, but we're not. Like, you're just getting everything very real and raw. And I think a lot more people appreciate that these days and are looking at mainstream like, well, how much is that just being fed to them? They don't really have a lot of reactions or emotions. They have to fit a certain narrative. Who's paying them off? Like, there's so many other factors that go in that, not all mainstream is terrible, of course, but it's just, when you look at it, like, you can really see it, like, you can really see that there's always narratives at play. And that does get frustrating at times, because you just want to hear it in an honest way, like whatever's going on in the world, like, just say it like it is. Maybe share your own thoughts a little bit and opinions on it, on whatever you're talking about. But, that's just the difference when you're watching shows that are independent versus mainstream media.
Yeah. And for me, the more big voices like the Tucker Carlsons, like the Joe Rogans, who's been very vocal on Trudeau the last few months. And we had Sean Strickland of the UFC a few days ago, of course, calling out Trudeau. These are the kind of people, who know the big voices who aren't scared to say what they really feel. And, we need more of that, because when people do try and call things out in this country, like we had with Jordan Peterson, he's now had to go into social media re-education camp, I think it is, because of his opinions on certain things online, which is just the most communistic thing you can say, that you have to go into a social media re-education camp because the government doesn't agree with what you say online. It's just insane to me. Got another one from Briar here. So yeah, being able to tell the truth about all the pressure from Fox has set the man free. Yeah, for sure, Briar. I completely agree with that.
And you know,
no, apologies, go.
No, I was just gonna say, you might not always agree with what anybody says. You know, they're like, everybody's different and has different thoughts and opinions. But I think when you can also listen to somebody and respect their opinions, even if you don't agree with it, that moves conversations forward. So, you know, it's good. Like you said, you don't always agree with them, but, you know, you do appreciate when, you know, you do kind of come together on certain things, or just like, you can still be respectful. You're like, yeah, I don't agree on that, but when he did say this, bang on.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, it's very rare you're going to agree with everything that one person says. I mean, there's probably stuff what we'll say tonight, Brian, which you completely don't agree with. I mean, and that's fine. You know, that's why we're human. We all have opinions, and sometimes they don't align. But it doesn't mean that we can't shake hands at the end and, you know, move forward. You know.
I agree.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next one, I guess.
For sure.
So this is coming, I think it was April Hutchinson who quote tweeted this. Yeah. So I think this is Trudeau talking about the transgender movement, which has got a lot of pushback today. I think, you know, some of the reaction I've seen from the Liberal government, they've focused on these comments specifically. So we'll have a look at this.
For sure. Do you want to read this comment first?
Sure, yeah.
All right. Carlson does need to find other people to interview on the UAP topic, like Dr. Kirkpatrick or other actual astrophysicists, like the ones who worked with UAPX. But I digress. Yeah, I mean, we don't, I don't know. He does go down a rabbit hole with UAP. So does Joe Rogan. We don't necessarily agree with that. He's kind of giving the wrong people platforms. I think you need to look at it a bit more scientifically and logically, but who doesn't go down a rabbit hole once in a while?
We've all been there. We've all been there for sure.
Yeah. But, you know, we don't tend to focus on that much of that side of the things, but some of the other guests, pretty good.
Yeah, for sure.
So there you go. We don't listen to everything either. I don't agree with your
don't agree with your don't have to agree joke. Thanks, Will, and good to see you, mate. Appreciate the jokes.
Then, Will, you should agree with everything we say.
Yeah, I want you to agree with everything I say here.
It's only logical.
Yeah, right. So let's get back to this. So we'll play this clip, and obviously we'll react to it. So like I was saying, this is Justin Trudeau talking about the transgender movement. And like I was saying, this is effectively what the Liberal government have focused on, is these kind of comments, which they've deemed hateful and violent, but we'll get into that next.
For sure.
No history. You know, the iPhone makes history irrelevant. It's all about right now. But it's worth like learning some things about history. And here's my recommendation: spend, you know, like an afternoon reading about the French Revolution, the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917, the Spanish Civil War, and what do they all have in common? At their heart was a desire not to replace Christianity with reason, as the Jacobins claimed, but to crush and destroy and to humiliate Christians in a way that's very reminiscent of what the Romans did in the 1st and 2nd centuries. It's not just like, oh, that's silly and superstitious, we're going to move on to something better. It's no, we're going to crush you, and we're going to ritually humiliate you. And that is very much what the trans thing is about. No one is helped by transgenderism. You've never met anyone who is happier because he's self-castrated. I personally feel very sorry for trans people. I'm not angry at them at all. I think they are victims of bigger forces. But to officially promote that is a humiliation ritual designed to put Christians in an untenable position where they have to either swear allegiance to the new state religion, which is transgenderism, or to their ancestral religion, which is Christianity. It is a loyalty test, and it's meant to humiliate and destroy them. And let's just be honest about what we're seeing.
Yes. Great comments, in my opinion. Some interesting points there, because we've often compared this new transgender movement, which we've seen coming in the last few years, to a new religion. And he brought up some comparisons there with Christianity, and I think I said this a couple of days ago on the show that the last 15 to 20 years, especially, we've seen a big decline in what you would call the kind of established religions like Christianity and all this stuff. And it's left a void for a lot of people. And, the transgender movement for me very much fills that void for some people, especially younger people who feel lost and disenfranchised with how things are going and their place in the world. And often religion, was seen as that thing that people could believe in and, gave them some purpose. Yeah. And I think the transgender movement in some ways ties into a lot of that. So he did make some interesting points, and he also said that they are the victims as well, and we've also said that too before.
Yeah,
that they're often these people they're not victims of being they're not victims of being born in the wrong body. They're victims of being born in the wrong society, which I think is true, because the amount of stuff what's pushed onto young people now through social media, through the media, through schools, through parents in some cases, which, we've seen some examples of parents pushing this ideology onto young kids, claiming that their son or daughter was born in the wrong body when they're literally 3 or 4 years old. It's an incredibly abusive and manipulative thing to say. And also, it's a cruel thing to say, because can you imagine being a little kid and your mum or dad telling you you're born wrong? Yeah, that's effectively what that is.
I know.
So it's a very, it's a very complicated one, the transgender movement, because obviously there are people who suffer with gender dysphoria, which is a real mental health condition. But is this gender dysphoria condition on the scale which we're now seeing it? Because we saw a story yesterday night which said that 1 in 4 Gen Z people in America now identify as LGBTQ plus 2A, and that doesn't mean that everybody's trans, of course. It might mean that some of these young people are gay, and they kind of now have the confidence to voice that opinion, because before, society didn't really, it wasn't really in a place where people could come out as easily. So there's that side of it too. But I don't think that there's been this huge rise in people thinking they're born in the wrong body. I don't think that's true at all.
Yeah, it's definitely the influence of, what's around children happening, and, we've said it many times on the show before, but it's because we're putting genders on activities and sports and interests. Like, when you're a kid, you're just going to play with whatever you want that day. You're going to dress however you want that day. Your clothes also might mismatch that day, and kids don't care. They just think, like, sometimes my daughters will be like, oh, I love flowers, and they'll wear 2 different flower tops. And I'm like, flower top and flower bottom don't necessarily go, but they love it, so go for it. But it's like, kids don't care. They only feel bad or like they're doing something wrong if somebody is telling them that, like, kids are very carefree. They're very confident and reassured of themselves. It's only as they get older, they're in school, they're about to hit puberty, like noticing some changes around them. Like, it's all about what's around them. And if there's somebody, trying to tell them, well, if you like trucks and you like playing Lego and I don't know, you'd rather go play basketball than, I don't know, gymnastics, then you actually might be born in the wrong body. But it's like, well, no, it's called what's a tomboy then? Like, is that
doesn't exist anymore.
That doesn't exist anymore.
Doesn't exist.
Or it's called, stop gendering what I'm doing. Like, maybe I'm just having fun. Like, and based on who kids are playing with, they might be interested in different things. Like, it's only normal. And just leave children alone. Like that, it is something we're really passionate about. And it's something that is also just really frustrating, because at the end of the day, even if a child does feel that way. When you're coming around to puberty, like there's a lot of changes that make you uncomfortable in your body, just full stop. Whether you're confused about, maybe you're starting to get feelings, maybe it's for the same sex and you don't know what's going on. Like those are all normal things. Like your body's changing, you're vulnerable, you're maybe emotional because your hormones are going crazy. Like it's just a biological process that your body goes through that every other human has gone through. And instead of focusing on telling children that they're wrong, whether you believe in science or you believe in God, that either means that there was something that broke in the process of science or that God made you the wrong way. So whether it doesn't really matter which one you believe in, because at the end of the day, you're saying one of those two systems broke along the way to make you. So, instead you should just be supporting your child's like mental health, reassuring them, giving them confidence. Like kids need that. Like they need the affirmations, whether they're cheesy or not, they do work. And especially on kids, like they help, get their own confidence back if they are like, getting in their own heads and stuff. And kids these days are a lot more anxious and like just stressed generally. And so it's like, you need to be there to support them and to just take care of them and nurture them. Like that's what they need. And so instead of putting them on puberty blockers and, getting them signed up for surgeries, which both things do a lot of damage and harm, and, it's like mutilating them, sterilizing them, we should just be taking care of them, letting them go through the puberty process, which is awkward and everything, but we've all been there. We all got through it.
Yeah.
And let them figure things out, because most cases of children having like gender dysphoria,
I think it's 80%. If you let
or
kids,
like 87% or something.
Yeah, if you let these kids, this is courtesy of Billboard Chris. Shout out to Billboard Chris if you see the show, mate. I don't think you will, but shout out.
Just in case.
Yeah, he basically said that I think it's more than 80%. If you let kids go through the puberty process, they'll grow out of this.
Yeah.
And what these people are doing is effectively stopping the cure, if that makes sense. It's very creepy. It's very creepy.
And there's always other issues as to why children feel like that. Sometimes it's just going through puberty. Sometimes it's being on like the spectrum or having autism. Other times they've been through very traumatic childhoods, like abuse or just general, like just trauma. And so that's what we need more support for, is their mental health and just mental health in general. Like I think, we have discussions, this is going off topic, but about MAID and stuff like for assisted suicide. And it's like, we need more mental health support in general in today's society, which clearly it shows that people are not getting enough support for. Yeah, let's go to the comments.
So this is coming in from Boiling Point Live. Nice
to see you.
Nice to see you, mate. So the gender identity argument was perpetuated during the fall of the Weimar Republic in Germany, just before the rise of the Nazi Party. It's a weapon of destabilization and nothing more.
True, I've read up on this.
I did see a great post about that today, and shout out for the comment there. Some great points. That I saw a post. I don't know who it was, but I think it was earlier today where they brought up some pictures of the Weimar and a republic. It was basically like the transgender movement, but effectively in like Germany.
Yeah. And so
it's an interesting one, that for sure.
Yeah, because it's psychological at the end of the day. So why are we trying to fix it physically when it's something psychological as well? Like if you think about that, and it works on the weak-minded. Yeah,
absolutely.
Got Briar here. It's very cult-like, the new transgenderism. Anytime people go full-on zealot or anything, they have lost the ability to step back and evaluate all options. It's problematic. Doctors advising kids to remove their organs when they can't make a decision on supper and still believe in Santa and the Easter Bunny.
Absolutely,
100%.
Absolutely. And it's crazy. You perfectly put that point there, because like you just said, these kids believe in Santa at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then you're asking them or telling them that they're born in the wrong body. It's so confusing, and just I don't get how people can sit there and think it makes sense to do it.
I know.
Like it doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Yeah, when people say, kids know what they want. And I'm like, do you have children? Because or have you been around children?
That's a good point. I don't.
No, they don't.
I don't think a lot of these people who actually say this stuff and agree with putting kids on puberty blockers or and putting them in surgery in some cases with that,
like the extreme cases.
That if you've got kids yourself, you would not agree with that.
No.
Or at least most parents wouldn't.
Yeah, of course there's going to be some.
Because we've obviously seen some parents who actually put their kids through this bollocks, of course.
But when people just claim that kids know what they want, I'm like, that's hilarious. I'm like, so I'm like, okay, fine. You don't have kids. You have no idea. But also, do you remember being an 8-year-old or 10-year-old? Do you still have the exact same thoughts and wants and needs, and you've never changed your mind about something? It's like, it's common sense. There's reasons why we put age restrictions on things. Are you also going to tell your kid that they should start smoking if they want to, because they can make that decision, or I don't know, drinking or doing drugs or whatever, getting tattoos?
There's a bigger thing at play here as well, because we've seen a lot of talk that they're trying to change wording with the way that they're describing sex offenders and all this stuff. I mean, I saw something that they're now called minor attracted persons. I will never use that term.
And
it's very crazy how they're trying to change the language to, desensitize what these words mean.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all come about at the same time as the rise in the transgender movement as well. I'm not saying there's a link there, but you can put 2 and 2 together at times.
Yeah.
Sure. Like an old Jedi mind trick.
Yeah.
Of course.
And good to see you, Perspective.
Good to see you. Right, let's get back to the clips, I guess. So what else we got? Okay, so this is Tucker Carlson. I think this was today, actually. This was in Edmonton, I believe. So let's make our screen bigger. So this is Tucker Carlson and Jordan Peterson talking about the truckers today.
Yeah.
The Freedom Convoy. It's been an interesting... Whoa. Sit down. We got some conversation to come. It's been an interesting 24 hours.
So that the trucker convoy was part of the leadership of a much broader movement of working class people all across the Western world. You're seeing that more particularly in Europe now. There were some 200,000 German farmers and assorted protesters out over the last couple of weeks. You saw very little coverage of that. The same thing is happening in Spain, it's happening in France, it's happening in Scotland. And part of the reason that it is happening is because working class people, in their implicit wisdom, have decided that they're not the problem that faces the planet, but the solution. And the truckers knew that, and they served in that function, as even Trudeau admitted not so long prior to his unforgivable, traitorous, and now deemed criminal activities, which should be treated as such.
Well, actually,
I thought from the beginning, more power to the truckers. I think they handled that demonstration impeccably. They timed it brilliantly. They left at the right time. They did nothing but good. And they were treated like Russian collaborators and MAGA scum, and sometimes both at the same time, because that's exactly how demented Canada is. So more power to them, and thank God for the wisdom of the federal court.
May I just add one thing? I so fervently agree with what Jordan just said, and I was mesmerized by that whole thing, and I know some of the people involved. I do think, though, there's probably too much emphasis, relatively speaking, on the Prime Minister and not enough on Chrystia Freeland, who I knew as a journalist working in Washington 20 years ago. She was at the Financial Times. And the fact that someone like that could ascend to a position of high authority in a civilized country like this is such a shocking... No, I mean that. First of all, it proves the meritocracy is fake. Some
It's
mentally
random.
deficient fascists can have power over you, okay? But watching David Menzies get arrested recently for trying to ask her a question, I mean, I really feel like people need to be very direct. No, this person has no moral authority over me at all. She is not qualified to even speak to me.
Okay.
I love it. They're like in suits and he's like in a sweatshirt.
And a hoodie, yeah. I mean, spot on again.
We'll highlight this. We don't watch hockey, but woo, good job, Edmonton Oilers.
Shout out to the Oilers, yeah. shout out to them. Yeah, I mean, so some interesting points there, and kind of goes on the back of what we were saying earlier about Chrystia Freeland and David Menzies, of course. And, it's just, and how he was treated was it was just a disgrace to me how he was treated as a journalist. And some of the comments that I was reading that he has no right to ask her a question. He has no right to run up to her like that. Of course he does. That's what being a proper journalist or reporter is like, going boots on the ground. And here's the thing, even if he's just a citizen, which he is, right? He has every right to ask her a question. He elected her, right? They are publicly elected officials, paid for by the people in this country. So of course he has every right to ask her any question that he wants. And the fact that she, smirked and walked away, so smug, smirked and walked away while he was literally, it looked like that he was assaulted to me. Yeah. He was assaulted and then he was arrested simply for trying to ask a question. Well, they are building a case, so you guys should visit rebelnews.com. I think they have a funding for their legal case. Yeah, go and donate and stuff. We'll link it in after the show as well. We'll put it in the description for you guys if you want to. That's not the first time where he's been assaulted by the officers around him and Trudeau and his goon squad. Yeah. So, it's a shame. Like, this is how we treat reporters who are just trying to get answers that the public want to know. And, he was respectful, and it looked like a complete setup. We have talked about it several times on the show. You guys can go back and watch if you want. But yeah, it's like just the way that he was treated. Like, it just made me so ashamed of our justice system as well. Our police officers are supposed to serve and protect. And so, it does make you very disappointed for sure. And this isn't obviously generalizing to all police officers, but the ones who clearly... So, so you've got these ones, you've got the ones that bring the Hamas people donuts and coffee, of course. It's not a good look. And then you have the regular ones who just do their job. Yeah, it's not a good look for the police at the moment. It isn't. It's really not. I wouldn't want to be a police officer during this time, that's for sure. Yeah. It's a tough job. Yeah, let's move on. So so let's enlarge this. So this is a thread, what Rebel News posted today. So this is like the reaction, I guess, from the Tucker Carlson events. And there's a few clips on here. So one from Justin Trudeau and there's some more as well. So let's enlarge our screen and we'll play these. I haven't actually seen all of these yet, so we're going to react to these live for you. So I think let's make this smaller just so I can read the description of this one. Okay. So Trudeau, Liberals, and Canada's bought and paid for media having meltdowns over Tucker Carlson's visit to Canada. Let's have a look. Can't wait.
My very first call this year was with Volodymyr Zelensky, who wanted to know that Canada still stood with him, that Canadians still stood with him. And I told him, yes, we do. The Canadian government and most of the parties in the House will continue to stand with him. But Pierre Poilievre and his Conservatives chose to vote against support for Ukraine, calling it a faraway foreign land to appease Putin apologists like Tucker Carlson and those who enable him. He's
so pathetic. He does not speak for the Canadians. Like when I don't think it was on this one, but I did see that clip today. And he doesn't speak for Canadians, because Canadians need a leader who wants to support their people. Like, you know, of course, in an ideal world, we want to be like Superman and save and support every country in need. But at the minute, Canadians are struggling. Canadians, like record numbers of people going to food banks. People can't afford rent. People can't afford their mortgages or losing their houses. Like, people can't afford food on the table for their families. Like, we need a leader who is going to support Canadians. And so when he says, you know, yes, Canadians support you, it's like, no, we don't support you giving more money away to another country. And yes, they are far away technically. So the far away land, I mean, technically they are far. You need to travel by plane. So not technically wrong there either. And it just winds me up, because it's like, you know, if you put a vote in for people who said, yeah, donate X amount $1 million to Ukraine again, or to another country again, or to bring tens of thousands of Ukrainian people to Canada, when
let's not forget as well, he's also paying for pensions for Ukrainian
pensions
in Ukraine as well.
Like, what are we doing? Like, what kind of side deal? Like, what's going on? Like, why is he so obsessed with Ukraine? Like, I say good on Pierre and all the people who voted no, because that's what Canadians are saying is no more. Like, please, if you gave even like a little portion of that to every single Canadian, I think we'd be a lot happier and less of like, it would be struggling a lot less. You know, start lowering interest rates, start making housing more affordable, start making like price of food more affordable. It's insane. Like, he is so out of touch with the people, like, and just ignores any kind of, you know, feedback.
Yeah.
And then dig on Tucker Carlson. It's like, no, I'm sorry, he was spot on.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's trying. I mean, Tucker Carlson has not, and this is the other weak thing he did as well. Tucker Carlson has nothing to do with his point about the Ukraine people. It's got nothing to do with it. So he's just trying to throw some shade at Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, he's sour about it.
Yeah, but listen, but like just compare like what Tucker Carlson said about him and what Justin Trudeau said about Tucker Carlson, and Justin Trudeau doesn't have any like balls to come back at Tucker Carlson. He has nothing.
I know.
He has nothing. He's just a weak man.
I know.
And it's honestly tiring that he's still running this country. It's tiring to deal with.
Well, it's exactly like, this reminds me of when Sean Strickland called out Trudeau, and then Trudeau goes and says that, you know, the UFC brought too much toxic masculinity to Canada. And it's like, what does that even mean?
It's
and
just
also
it's just fake.
like,
it's a fake term.
It's yeah, that too. But also it just highlights how, you know, obviously this has like stung him inside, and he's like taking it out, like, you know, because he was clearly hurt by these things, which, you know, I don't know, maybe start listening to your people. And then
well here's the thing. Why should he be hurt from what a UFC fighter says and what an independent journalist / media person
well, because he's obviously very insecure
says. Yeah, but
he's gone through a lot personally.
But he shouldn't be. He's the leader of this country.
Yeah, I'm not defending him. I'm just saying you can see why.
Yeah, but he shouldn't be this weak.
No.
You know, and it's just crazy to me how there's a leader of a country who is just this weak, and he can't handle any kind of criticism, he can't handle, you know, and he just sees it as hate when someone says something bad about him. It's just, and of course it ties into the mentality of everybody who is on the left these days, that, you know, they're just victims. You know, everything's a problem. Everything's the end of the world. And it's just, you know, they're just exhausting.
Yeah.
They just really are. They need to grow up. Right, let's move on to the next script.
Criticism,
Will.
Can't handle
that's the
it.
one. That's the one.
Can't handle it.
Right, let's move on to the next clip, I guess. So scroll down. Who's next? Oh, this was ridiculous. I saw this earlier. This was probably the weakest thing I've seen. Definitely this year. I know it's only been a month or so, but definitely this year was this is the weakest thing I've seen.
Yeah.
Easily. So yeah, so this is Stephen Guilbeault, who's an actual criminal, right? This guy, for some reason, he's actually in a government position, but we'll get to that another day. So let's play it.
I mean, this goes beyond me and the fact that I was targeted last night at this event. This increases political violence against everyone who runs for office in this country, whether they're doing it at the municipal level, at the provincial level, or at the federal level. As my friend and colleague Randy said, like, we can have differences of opinion. We can bang our fist on the table when we meet. We can have strong disagreement, but to incite violence against people who disagree with you, that's not how things should be done in Canada.
Are you not contributing to the divide by coming out here and comparing Poilievre to this and making this about him? Are you not contributing to the divide by doing that? If your government has been accused,
we're not comparing Poilievre to him. I think what
you're not. Have you looked at your own advertising from
Mr. What Mr. Rodriguez just said is he said, I'm asking Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the opposition, to condemn those hateful and violent statement by Tucker Carlson.
But why not?
All right.
What's your thoughts? I mean, I left my thoughts on X.
Yeah, well, I completely agreed with it. It is the weakest thing. And I mean, oh my God, like, so somebody in the public said something mean to you, and like, you just want everybody to condemn Tucker Carlson. I don't know. It's hilarious. I don't know what to say. It's funny.
Again, it ties into what I was saying before. You know, from top to bottom in the Liberal Party, they just come across as incredibly weak to me. I mean, you should not be getting that worked up over someone's comments about it. I don't think it was even directed at him personally, from what I've seen from Tucker Carlson. No. You know, it's directed at his party.
It's from what we've seen. Yeah. Maybe he mentioned him. Who knows? But still,
who cares if he did? And this is the point. Who cares if he did anyway? Because you know, these are people who are in government positions. You expect them to have a thicker skin. If you can't handle someone, you know, calling you out and saying something what you consider, you know, hurtful, grow up, grow a thicker skin, or leave the government.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that for me, because, you know, you need strong people in these positions. And, you know, from all the fallout from the Tucker Carlson stuff, they just strike me as just really weak.
Yeah.
You know, and it is, you know, and even the other day with the truckers protest, the Emergency Act, you know, there hasn't been any statement from Trudeau. Nothing.
No.
There's been
no
nothing.
Statement, no apology.
There's been nothing at all. And, you know, he's just complete. I mean, the only thing we saw was, you know, he went to a hockey game.
Did you pull up that footage?
I do have the footage somewhere.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, he was filmed at a women's hockey game instead.
Ottawa Senators.
Yeah. So
the women's
instead of issuing a public statement about the fact that what he did was literally against the law, he was at a women's hockey game, clapping like an absolute buffoon.
Yeah, don't spoil it. We got that coming up.
Yeah, right. So let's play this one.
Yeah.
So make that bigger so I can read it. So Transport Minister Pablo Rodriguez calls on Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre to condemn Tucker Carlson's visit to Canada. You can't make it up. Honestly, you can't make it up how weak these people are. It's crazy.
Isn't Justin Trudeau's pronouns cis?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Or CUNT.
Yikes.
You brought up Pierre Poilievre's name in your comments. I mean, is this going to be your strategy effectively going forward, is tying Pierre Poilievre to Trump?
He wants to be prime minister of this country. What happened last night is not acceptable. Is he going to condemn that? If he wants to run for prime minister, he should have the courage to condemn those. It's not acceptable in our country.
Is that going to be your strategy?
People attended, sir. I mean, what do you make of the fact that there is an audience for it and for their perspective?
Well, as I said in French, the extreme right politics, don't ask the question if it's coming to Canada. It's already here.
Is this
and they're bringing it.
You brought up.
You know, it really bothers me that, like they're saying it like, are you going to condemn him? As if saying it like how we've been saying, you know, are you going to condemn Hamas for terrorism? It's like they're almost trying to like word association, you know, in your mind, as if like Tucker Carlson is some terrorist now just because he called out the prime minister.
Well, yeah, I mean that's what they're saying. It's, you know, and not like a terrorist, but what they're saying is basically that he's like a violent, hateful person with the things he says. But that's only because they don't agree with it. It's got nothing to do with what Tucker Carlson said, because we've actually played you the clips tonight, guys. Has Tucker Carlson been violent or hateful? No. He's just got a different opinion to what these morons think.
Yeah.
That's literally all this is. And it's, you know, this ties into what we're saying about this country.
Yeah.
It's an authoritarian place where you can only have one point of view, and that's the point of view of the Liberal government.
For sure.
You know, and if you don't align with that, like we've shown with these clips, you're a hateful person. You're a violent person. You're literally some sort of an extremist if you don't agree with it. And it's just hilarious to me how weak these people are who are running the country.
Yeah.
You know, they're getting threatened over comments from Tucker Carlson like this. I mean, can you imagine if Canada was in an actual war?
No. Well,
like they wouldn't last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
They just wouldn't. Justin Castro. Yeah, I mean, there's some allegations, Jay, for sure, that he's actually the son of Fidel Castro. I don't know how true they are, but I've seen some face swaps and some side by sides, and it's telling. It's telling. Let's play this one.
This is Danielle, the Alberta Premier, Danielle Smith.
Yeah. So let's make this bigger just so I can read it again.
Yeah.
So Premier Smith stands by her decision to attend Tucker Carlson's events. I don't do a screening test to make sure that every person that interviews me matches 100% what I believe. Yeah, spot on. Let's play it.
I do want to ask about your attendance at both of Tucker Carlson's events yesterday. This is somebody who has been accused of defending white supremacy, spreading misinformation about the war in Ukraine, as well as making disparaging remarks about women. So why did you believe that this is someone that you should be giving time and attention to?
Well, I take a wide range of media requests. I'm told by my staff, 96 individual media events or interviews since I got reelected, 24 press conferences. And I don't do a screening test to make sure that every person that interviews me matches 100% of what I believe. And I don't expect that they're going to, that would be an appropriate thing to do. So I take a wide range of interviews from CBC all the way through to alternative media, because my job is to get our message out about Alberta. And I told everyone that I wanted to make sure that somebody who has a very loud voice in America knew that we were a partner in being able to provide energy security and energy affordability. And I got that message out.
There you go.
Literally spot on.
I know. Yeah, she's brilliant.
I mean, and what she said there was literally just a common sense thing. That someone shouldn't be judged based off a few opinions you don't agree with, which is what we've said tonight.
For sure.
So fair enough, there might be things the Canadian media don't necessarily agree with, the bought and paid for ones, the CBC, that they don't agree with when it comes to Tucker. But that shouldn't mean that he should be completely banished from the country.
I know.
But this is the mentality. This is what I'm saying to you. If they don't agree with what you say, you're not part of it. Mm-hmm. You're not part of this.
Yeah, and that's the wrong mentality.
It's a very communist way to think. It really is. 100%. It's a very communism thing to think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's play the next one, I guess.
My colleagues.
So let's make that bigger.
Yeah, I am.
So Edmonton MP Randy Boissonnault says Premier Smith, so that's the lady we just played, brought Tucker Carlson to his riding to spew hate about LGBTQ2 people. Okay, let's see this.
So I'm here with my colleagues, Liberal caucus members, ministers all, to talk about what happened last night in Edmonton when the Premier of the province of Alberta, Danielle Smith, invites Tucker Carlson right into the heart of my riding. You can tell a lot about a person by the company they keep. And I have knocked those doors in Edmonton Centre. And I know how progressive a riding Edmonton Centre is. I've represented it since 2015. And for Danielle Smith to bring the mouthpiece of the MAGA conservative far right to Edmonton Centre to spew hate about LGBTQ2 people is beyond the pale. It's deplorable, and we won't stand for it. And I can tell you, it is completely unacceptable for the Premier of any province to say that she wants to put a target on the back of any Canadian politician and my friend and colleague Stephen Guilbeault simply for doing his job. You can have respectful discourse in this country. You can raise the issue. You can bang your fist on a table at a FedProv meeting. That's all legit. But you do not summon the dogs of MAGA conservatism to come and somehow try to scare us and to try to incite violence against politicians of any stripe. It's not acceptable. And if she would take her job seriously, she'd actually be focused on housing, on climate change, on actually solving the issues of Albertans, like forgetting her ridiculous proposal on CPP, instead of trying to summon evil forces from the United States to try to take on one of our colleagues.
What is the violence? I think the Mr. also said this again.
Oh my God.
What is the violence that they're bringing to Canada? What is the political violence that you're talking about? Just to be very clear.
Well, to put a target on someone's back, for example. To
name what is the evil,
to put someone in crosshairs.
That you say they're bringing here?
I mean, spewing hate speech about LGBTQ people, trying to bring the kind of division that they have in the United States north of the border. MAGA-style conservatism has no place in Canada, and it's trying to reach through our borders. And as Minister Rodriguez has said, conservative premiers, instead of doing their jobs, are trying to invite this wave of populism. And I can tell you, it's making newcomers nervous and fearful. People in the LGBTQ2 community do not feel safe. We have people who want to run for office that take a look at what happened last night in Edmonton and say, why bother? And that is not good for the political commons. It's not good for Canadian democracy.
I don't know who those people are.
I mean, what's your thoughts on that? That's the first time I've seen this clip.
Yeah, me too.
It's the first time I've seen it, guys, and there's a lot.
Well, this just tells me
there's a lot of dumb stuff in that.
Hey,
what the guy was saying, a lot of dumb stuff.
Don't speak sense on basically the trans movement. That is the way we're going to make money in the medical industry. Shame on you.
That's hate speech.
Yeah, well, that's what that tells me, because we already have dissected a lot about the trans ideology on the show, guys, as a lot of reoccurring guests will have already been aware of. And, it's a huge tap into the medical industry because, start them young, get them on puberty blockers. When they're a little bit older, get them through the surgeries. Then they'll go through complications and they'll be mutilated, sterilized for life. And they'll also probably need mental health therapy as well, along with going in and out of the hospitals for the rest of their lives. So this is a massive money-making industry and using children and just people as cash cows. So, I mean, to say, when you say LGBTQ2 people, I don't really consider LGB part of that, because everybody is accepting of gays and lesbians and bisexuals. Like, that's just
everyone's accepting of trans people as well. This is
but not in women's spaces.
Yeah, but I just mean
accepting them as a
general,
person, as an adult.
Yeah, in general.
As an adult, I'm not for it when they're under at least 18. I think it should be 25 because your brain is not even fully developed until 25. But, of course, like, people can do what they want when they're adults. But the fact is that they're not getting mental health support when they are adults going through this either. They're just kind of being pushed through the system as well. Oh, you've started late. That's okay. We can catch you up. But beyond that, it's like, I don't really consider LGBT part of that because, where he says that people aren't inclusive, it's like everybody's accepting of gays and lesbians and bisexuals. Like, that's been accepted for a while. They're pushing this trans movement. And so, him saying that and then, throwing MAGA, far right wing conservatives, it's all the buzzwords that you think people are going to be like turned off from, but people are starting to wake up now these terms as well.
you know, I've been called all sorts of stuff on X, especially, and I don't really care because to me it's just laughable because it's literally just the playbook. You're either a Nazi, far right, an extremist, or like a MAGA Republican, and who cares? At the end of the day,
well, I would care if they're like Nazis.
Yeah, but you know, but you know, I don't really care what people say, and this is the point. You know, the fact that these people genuinely do. And they're in positions of power within the government in this country, and you know, just listen to them talk. They're so threatened. You know, they called Tucker Carlson evil forces from America. That's what that clown just said.
Yeah, and the reporter pushed her on it.
Evil forces from America. Do you know how weak that sounds? It's one of the weakest statements I've ever heard from a politician.
The fact that he was even allowed in Edmonton, it's like, well, right now it's a free country. Anybody can come and visit. Like, you know, we open the doors and flood them in of like immigrants. Why can't we have a couple of guest speakers in Canada? Like it's just insane. Like, and if it bothers you, don't listen to it. Oh my God, what a revelation.
But here's the thing as well. They could have killed this story by not even talking about it.
I know.
This is how dumb they are as well, because if I was their PR person, I would have just said to them, look, just don't even talk about it.
Yeah.
Just don't even say his name. Done. You know, the fact that they've even addressed this and they've addressed this in this way, they've literally just added fuel to the fire.
For sure.
They've literally just shot themselves in the foot here.
Is what they've done.
And again, it's not a surprise because these people are just not clever people. They're just not. They're just incredibly stupid.
Yeah.
Look up Faith Goldie and her run for Toronto Mayor. Man, did she get the Trump treatment? She would make a good guest for the show.
Yeah, well, look her up. I've never heard.
Faith Goldie. We'll keep an eye on that, Jay. Thanks very much.
She's on Rumble because she got
I'll get the old pen.
I already put it in Google.
Oh, you put it on Google.
On the trusty phone, guys.
Good shout, Jay. We'll try and contact her.
Yeah, I've marked it down. We'll take a look and see if we can contact her. But I mean, we're not really surprised. I mean, we do need to watch what we say on YouTube, but that's why we also stream on X, guys.
If like we get suspended on YouTube, I don't really care.
Well, we won't get suspended, but you know what I mean. We have a backup, and we love and support X anyway, so we do stream live right there as well, guys. So don't worry, we've got the show covered.
Absolutely.
We've also got Will saying, "I say when I think he means I see when they said,
yeah.
They don't want to be in the government because it's the way it's running now, not what's happening." Yeah, I mean, because of a couple of comments. I mean, that just shows how weak of a person you are, and you shouldn't really be in politics.
It's just strange to me.
You know, ever since, you know, even when you're starting to learn about politics in school, it's like you always get that mentality like, oh, it's, you know, politics is rough. Like, you got to have a thick skin. You have to really believe in what you're saying and what you're supporting, blah, blah, blah. So if you can't cut it out from a few comments before you're even in any kind of government position, then maybe you shouldn't be anyway. I don't know.
That's it. I mean, we've made this point before, but if you're going to be in this political world and you're dealing with, you know, different opinions, dissenting voices, the public not being happy with some of your decisions, you have to have a thick skin.
Yeah.
And the fact that, you know, Tucker Carlson's come up here and he's done a couple of speeches and he's said a few things which the government think are hateful, which they're not. It's just a different opinion. And the fact that they can label something as hate speech because they don't agree with it just tells you all you need to know about the mentality of these people, that they don't have any kind of comprehension of a different opinion. They can't, like, it doesn't even commute in their brain that someone can even have a different opinion to them because they're so arrogant and they're narcissistic and they're just authoritarians at the end of the day. Yeah. And it's absolutely hilarious, but also quite scary how these people are running the country we live in. Because if anything actually serious happened here, right? You know, I'm not talking about evil forces from America in terms of Tucker Carlson. I'm talking about a full-on war. Do you actually trust these people to be able to handle it? Because I don't.
No.
Not in the slightest. But anyway, we'll end it there, guys. It went over the hour mark. There are a couple of clips, but they're not related to what we're talking about.
Let's just do the clapping one. Okay, that's a quick one.
All right, okay.
Is it this one?
Yes. Yeah. We'll play this clapping one.
This clap, it's just gold.
So let's enlarge this.
I will. Hold on. Okay. Just like, let me set it up.
Yeah. So this was just Justin Trudeau.
Hold on. We have a woke government.
Yeah.
Everything is based on feelings. Yeah. Pretty much.
Absolutely true, Will. Yeah. So this was just Justin Trudeau at the women's hockey game.
Yeah.
Yesterday with his son and daughter, I think it was.
Yeah, his daughter, his son.
So look at the clapping seal here. Let's have a look at him.
And we'll play it again so you can look at everybody else.
Let's have a look at him. Absolute clapping seal.
Oh, this one's quiet.
Yeah, it's got no sound.
Like, look at his daughter's reaction. She's like, whoa.
Like he's overcompensating because of all this bullshit.
Everybody else is just kind of like, woo. And like, he's just going mental. It's pretty funny.
Is he on some...
I don't know.
Is he on some... Yeah, I don't know. Not going to say
it. Who knows?
Not going to say it. But you know what I'm going to say. But anyway, guys, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for tuning in. Some new faces in the chat tonight. Pleasure to see you. And hopefully we'll see you back tomorrow.
Definitely, because we go live every day at 8 p.m. Eastern.
We do.
Which is a good reminder.
Like, share, subscribe if you're new to the channel and you like the conversations we have. You know, we do talk about a variety of different things. If you go through our page, we do talk about a lot of different stuff. We had Chris's World on yesterday. Great guy. We've been on his show as well, talking about all things America. And
we had April Hutchinson on.
We had the Women's Rights Network from Australia on the other day.
Yeah.
So we bring on some guests.
We had a comedian come on, Tyler Morrison,
who was a great guy as well. And we've had some good guests, and we're looking forward to bringing you some more.
Hold on.
What are you saying there? Yeah, but I can't say that on camera.
Yeah. So make sure to follow us on X as well. We are very active on X, and we do post clips from the show and other really interesting clips that just kind of bring you more information, guys. So we do a lot of research behind the scenes, pretty much like a full-time job. So definitely check us out. And if you do want to support the show and help us go that little bit further, you can become a YouTube or Patreon member. You can also donate on buymeacoffee.com. The links are all in the description of this video on YouTube or on our homepage on X and YouTube. On X, you just have to click view more and you can see a full bio with the links.
Absolutely. So thank you very, very much, guys. We'll see you tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Take it easy, enjoy yourselves, and see you tomorrow.
Stay sane, everybody.